Okay, joining me now, great dear friend, Kellyanne Conway, former counselor to President Trump, and the author of the brand new book, Brand New, Here's the Deal. Right there. Hi, Kellyanne.
Hello, Larry Kudlow. Thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. I want to start with some fun political stuff. So, okay, you were managing Trump's campaign in 2016, and he won. And you didn't manage his campaign in 2020, and he didn't win. Okay? I think if you had managed his campaign in 2020, he would have won.
Well, thank you, Larry. I get that a lot.
What say you?
And I think the reason you may feel that way and others feel that way is because they saw $1.4 billion in that campaign, probably about two-thirds more than we had in 2016, where we had hunger and swagger and two candidates, Trump and Pence, who were willing to go anywhere, all day, every day, and took that message right to the people. Now, COVID restricted President Trump from doing those rallies that he wanted to do, and obviously we were all very involved in making sure to get that right. But I think that this whole notion of what people want and how to match message with messenger and delivery. Delivery now is not a style, it's a system. How are you reaching the voters? I think the campaign in 2020 never really adapted to what they thought would be the big message. Booming economy, unemployment rates, trade deals recalibrating, reciprocal, taking NATO on, taking China on, all of that, and then to have to shift over to the virus. But you know, women are the chief healthcare officers of their households. We control 2 out of every 3 healthcare dollars spent. I talk about that on my new book, Here's the Deal, on sale now. And that we are disproportionately a majority of the consumers and the providers of healthcare. So when COVID hit, that was all brought to the fore, and women really wanted to hear a lot more about what was happening. But I appreciate you saying that. I will say this, that in 2016, being underestimated, under-resourced, underdog, understaffed helped us. Just look at what we were able to do with Facebook. 5.9 million ads, 50% digital ads, 50% television ads. Hillary's campaign had all that money, so they just did straight-up TV ads. And then Zuckerberg turns around in 2020 and figures he's getting blamed. Jeff Zucker at CNN's getting blamed for Trump's win. Mark Zuckerberg in Silicon Valley is getting blamed for Trump's win. I think they did a big course correction that hurt as well. But you have to know the principle. You have to understand who you're working with. I think Trump, on the 2 tracks of saying, President Trump saying, here are my accomplishments in office, and just rattling them off. And number 2, you can't have Joe Biden as your president. He's a 50-year creature of the swamp. Don't do it. Don't change horses midstream during a global pandemic and civil unrest.
But, look, as long as I've known you, you are an issues-oriented person.
Policy.
Okay? Policy person. That's exactly right.
Right back at you.
Policy advisor. Well, I was going to ask you, by the way, I was your favorite colleague in the White House.
How did you know?
Absolutely in the West Wing.
Mick Mulvaney's coming on soon, though.
No, I'm going to be ahead of Mick Mulvaney.
You were my favorite person who worked around the corner from me.
That's right.
In that office.
Right across the hallway. But you are an issues person. I thought 2016, Trump ran a fabulous issues campaign.
Yes, remember the tax cut and the entire
I don't think 2020 was an issues campaign, and with too many grievances in that. I really were.
A lot of grievances.
I mean, I think that was a problem, and I think you would have changed that.
And taking for granted that people knew all the accomplishments, what energy independence really meant, and to have the $2 a gallon gasoline. They know what it means now,
right,
Larry. They know what border security and that wall and immigration and no inflation, they certainly know what it means now, and people want it back. You know, Larry, I write in the book in the afterword that we're Americans, we're resilient, we are hopeful, we're optimistic. We always think things will get better. But now people are saying something slightly differently. They're saying, not only will it get better, but it was better not that long ago. How do we get back to that? And the answer is what you said, it's policy.
I know, and I don't think there was enough policy. I mean, look, I love the guy. I'm loyal to the guy. I love talking to the guy. I get calls from him sometimes. He's fishing for a number before he goes on rally stage, like I'm still there. Of course, I get the number for him, but I don't think there's enough, even now, enough policy stuff, too much grievances. All right, let me move on. How did you, Kellyanne, get to be a conservative? Okay, woman, you know, you were there in the 60s, 70s. Where did the conservative Kellyanne come from?
Great question. It came from being raised by these 4 Italian Catholic women in Little South Jersey, halfway between Philadelphia and Atlantic City. My father left when I was 3, and they raised me to be a conservative without ever having a political conversation. I think that's a cautionary tale and a very common experience in this country, Larry, where people are taught about faith, family, small business, entrepreneurship, an honest day's wages for an honest day's work, that we kneel for the Lord and and stand for the flag, and don't confuse the two. We always respect and had in our family military veterans. The men in my life, my uncles, my cousins, were, and to this moment, are members of unions. I should have been a Democrat. The first words in my book is I should have been a Democrat, a feminist, a man-hater, a liberal. But there I was denying Hillary and helping President Trump get elected. Why? Because I believe in limited government, and I believe that that peace through strength, limited government, individual freedom, these are time-tested principles that we must get back to. And look at the contrast now. Some people want a rematch. They want Joe Biden and his policies to go away. They're looking right past him, and they want the good old glory days of low unemployment, high growth, us being respected around the world, Putin not being in Ukraine, Iran not salivating over Israel as a nuclear-capable country. They want these trade deals in our manufacturing base to be respected. They want our law enforcement, our military veterans to be more deeply resourced, more deeply respected. And it's not difficult to understand, but I was raised according to all of those ideas. No political conversation I can remember. Our pictures on the wall were of the Last Supper and Pope John Paul and whatever I had drawn in kindergarten, not of Reagan or Kennedy.
Kneeling in church and standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, not a bad set of ideas.
Not a bad way to grow up.
And I think people should stand up for that. I mean, I think that has a role in politics today.
Yes, it is. Look, I think the two parties and the two philosophies that undergird the two political parties, Larry, have never been more distinct. They really are the bright colors, not the pale pastels that President Reagan spoke of. And people need to know that. I feel the left tries to make it about messenger and personality because they don't have the policies that Americans want. Look at all of the polls when you ask the policy questions. Not only is President Biden's approval rating so poor on his handling of all those policies, but if you just ask simple agreement vis-a-vis Americans, they hew very closely to the more conservative doctrinaire Republican policy than they do the other way around. And I think Biden's really stuck. I think President Biden is in constant conflict with Senator Biden. He was much more moderate, much more bipartisan, much more the unifier. But he also did some terrible things that we're seeing now where he politicized Supreme Court nominations. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I think it was like 96-3. Antonin Scalia, 98-0. And now he totally politicized it, starting with Clarence Thomas, and here we are.
Biden is at war with the country right now.
He's yelling at us.
I've never seen anything like this. He's in Japan and he's bragging on the high price of gas and fossil fuels is going to end. That'd be like a permanent recession. I mean, I don't understand that.
I don't either.
But that brings me back to our former boss. Do you think there's another campaign here?
He would like to. He would like to run again. I talked to him yesterday. He would like to run again. We talked about my book yesterday. He would like a rematch. He feels he has unfinished business on behalf of this country. He wanted a second term to do that. And he also sees, as we all do, Larry, as a majority of independents and women in 18 to 39 go right down the line. He also sees what a man-made disaster the Biden-Harris White House and legacy is right now. And no course correction. There is no course correction in this White House. Somehow, unlike President Obama, unlike President Clinton, who faced and then endured massive losses in the first midterm.
He has to come back on the issues, though, Kellyanne.
He does.
The issues.
No,
not
he does.
The grievances.
That's how he...
Not the grievances.
And he's great.
You follow me?
And
the issues.
The issues are why people
And then we love him on the
support
issues.
him.
I hear this all the time.
I know people really do want
People stop you in the street and they say, those policies were great. They
and they know, and people miss them. People are hurting. You know who's hurting the most? Trump voters. A lot of the folks who have those jobs, they're hurting the most.
Typical working folks.
Absolutely. And so, yes, he would like to run. And he is certainly the leader of the America First movement. And we have a lot of candidates this time.
Yes.
Record enthusiasm and turnout for Republican primaries, Larry, because they're reacting to all these poor policies by the Biden-Harris administration. But make sure people understand the distinction between the two parties. Last thing, Joe Biden seems to not be running on ideology, that we're governing according to ideology. He's beholden to the radical left, but I think most of his policies come from a place of spite, and spite is no way to run a country.
Yeah, he's very mean. I'm going to give you one more pass at this. You sure I wasn't your favorite colleague?
You were.
Really?
How did you know? You were everybody's favorite colleague because we respected you. We felt so blessed to be able to work with you. No, somebody like you doesn't need another tour of duty. And you worked for President Reagan and President Trump. Very few people can say that. They can say, I voted for both, I supported both, I understood both. Very few can say I worked on the inside. You know, I think 1980 with Reagan, 1994 with Newt Gingrich in the Contract with America, and 2016 with President Trump. I think those three elections were transformative in their own way, changing the way we ran elections, but also changing the way the principals communicated with the public. You know, President Trump presided over what I call, Larry, this democratization of information.
Yes.
Whether you liked his tweet or not, or his comment or not.
No, but he was
we had
out there,
transparency. He was
constantly out there.
And people got it instantly and for free.
And this guy's
you should
never
expect
out
that from this
when
guy
he's out there,
and the
it's a
vice
disaster.
president. My goodness.
All right, Kellyanne Conway. The name of the book. Here's
the
deal. Show
and
it up
of course,
there, right
today
there.
we're all thinking of Uvalde and those babies.
Oh, I know.
Our
It's
angels. God bless them and those families.
They are angels. You're right about that. Save America, save the children. Folks, don't forget the Fox Nation special. Here's the deal. That is available to stream. And I'm so glad you came on set for
Thank
this.
you, Larry.
And you
God
look
bless
like
you.
$1 million. I just want to say that. $1 million.